week on week, and more and more people were watching it on catch up and then watching it live, and we just it was a fantastic experience, really.
Some people are, maybe it's people who run big stations like the BBC, are cynical of Netflix and other streaming outlets, as it were, but is it something you embrace, really? Bodyguard's on there now. I don't know if Line of Duty's still on there, but it's on the iPlayer at least.
Line of Duty is on Netflix in the UK. 9 all territories. I mean, the interesting thing with Bodyguard was the experience of having gone on the BBC, then in October, which is literally only 6 weeks after it finished on the BBC, it was on Netflix, but it was on Netflix across the entire globe. And suddenly to have that experience of something being released simultaneously in every country, and the kind of wave of interest, new wave of interest that it brings to a show, was amazing. And Tim and I were talking earlier about that and how that has changed and is continuing to change our industry, both film and television. The days where you would sell something territory by territory, and something would be on here in a year and then 2 years later it'd gone, and it never really got any momentum. Now suddenly you can go from being a UK hit to a global hit, as much because of the sort of platform and the technology as the fact we're not making the show for an American market. It was made totally with the BBC in mind.
So Jed Mercurio, probably the most famous TV writer in the country at the moment. What is there something that runs throughout his writing that makes his work so appealing, really?
I think he is brilliant at keeping the audience guessing, because he keeps us guessing.
I know.
I think he is someone who understands the power of getting an audience to ask questions rather than keep giving them answers. And I think that's the power of great narrative.
Some would say with Jed's writing, probably especially Line of Duty, maybe the last series, that he doesn't reveal enough sooner than, it's like, oh come on, I know it's brilliant, and I'm not being critical at all, but there's like so many questions about, prime example, obviously, who is H, but we now kind of know who isn't, as it were.
Yes.
But it can be frustrating but compelling at the same time, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's, look, the figures and the stats, and we get this thing from the BBC called AI, which is the Audience Appreciation Index, and we're continually up there with the top shows. So I think yes, there's a proportion of the audience that might take to Twitter outraged they didn't get all the answers they wanted, but I feel like in a serial drama you don't want all the answers. For something to keep going, to have forward momentum, there have to be fresh questions. There has to be a desire to know more, and it's part of our job with Jed that we kind of pace that out, so that you're getting certain questions answered, but not everything. 2 questions for fans of Bodyguard and Line of Duty are: with Bodyguard, do you know, will there be another series? Jed, when he's asked about it, he says, we're in discussions, or we're talking about it with the BBC. We're in discussions, we're talking about it with the BBC.
But I'm wondering why, because a lot of the time, if a show is a big hit, it's commissioned quickly usually, isn't it? But there's some complication there, isn't there?
It's just a very big show to get all of the moving parts back together again, and the when and the how and the resources that it needs, that needs a lot of conversations. So that's the reason, really. It's not a simple turn up and thank you Vicky for the hire of the hall. There's a lot to do.
It's not like doing this. Well, I say that, it's not easy doing this. So Line of Duty, we know there'll be another one, a 6th.
That's right, yeah.
Do we yet know if there'll be a 7th? I think Jed would like to do another one.
Well, we're discussing that. At the moment we're focusing on season 6, which we'll shoot next year. So that's exciting, and Jed is thinking about that at the moment, and we'll get together again soon to talk about where it's all headed.
I just want to mention Kate Rose James, who is the casting director on Line of Duty and Bodyguard and other shows as well. I think casting is it's an undervalued element of film and TV, and it's so important, isn't it, really? She played such a key part in that series.
Absolutely. I remember approaching her to do the first season of Line of Duty, and she always teases me about how small our offices were at that point, because we'd had a fairly barren few years, and then Line of Duty came along, and suddenly we're back up there again as it goes. But she's been incredibly loyal to us, both through Line of Duty. She cast The Fear for us, and she also cast Bodyguard. So and she works really hard. I mean, I think it's easy. Lots of people have opinions about casting. From the person at the very top of the BBC downwards, everyone thinks they know who should be in the shows. And she holds her nerve, and she fights for people she thinks are going to bring something different and original, and that in the end draws an audience in. You don't always have to think about the tried and tested and obvious names. An audience responds sometimes just to the right person in the right role.
And she did Sherlock as well, before the stuff with Well Productions. And I interviewed her earlier in the year, and brilliant. It's just interesting. But she was a great guest at my quite defunct London event. So Netflix